Greetings, everyone, and welcome to episode 5 of 2025-2026 Mentorship Matters, run through the College of Professional Studies at Northeastern and our bachelor's completion programs in the Lowell Institute School. My name is Chris Cook. I serve as the director of the Lowell Institute School. Really excited to continue the conversation with two really incredible colleagues and two incredible leaders who lead well-regarded programs, established programs, and programs that are constantly evolving to best suit the needs of their students. And we're going to get today to talk to two of those leaders, and I'll allow them to introduce themselves. Kristen, you want to jump in and introduce yourself, and then we'll go over to Monica.
Sure. Thanks, Chris. It's so great to be with both of you. My name is Kristen Lee, and I am the program lead for behavior science. I've been with the college for 15 years, and I'm excited for our conversation today. Hi, everyone.
Awesome. Hey, Monica, jump in.
Hi, everyone. My name is Monica Borgida. I've been at Northeastern for almost 9 years now. I serve in the capacity of associate teaching professor in the finance and accounting management program, and I'm very happy that you took the time to see us.
Love it. And what I'm excited for is the audience today will likely be current students, future students, partners, part-time faculty, community college audiences, professional audiences, a whole host of folks. Kristen, do you mind taking a step further to introduce yourself, to talk a little bit about yourself, your background, and how you ended up at Northeastern? Would love to hear a little bit about that.
Sure, I'd be glad to. I'm a clinical social worker by training, and I started my life's work in residential care, actually, and I really just saw the impact of relationships, connecting, mentoring, how healing and redemptive they can be. And that really set the course for my life's work early on while I was an undergrad. I was the first in my family to go to college, so I worked a lot of jobs to get through, like many of our students are working and just contending with a lot of variables. And those early experiences really opened my eyes on the meaning and the power of getting a degree and then being able to use those skills and that desire to bring impact to the world. I've been in the work now 25 years, and I stepped into Northeastern 15 years ago to do this work in our behavior science and psychology programs. I love it. We draw curious students. We draw students who similarly see many opportunities in the world for improvement in social systems, for example, or like you said, like organizational inefficiencies and leadership challenges of today, who want to learn ways that they can bring their talent and optimize it in the workplace and across their lives, really. And so it's such an honor to be inspired by our students and then to be surrounded by colleagues. And I think especially right now in a hyper-competitive global market where there is a lot of strife and there is a lot of despair, our learning community helps us focus on what we can control. And I think our psychology curriculum in particular and everything that comes with it helps people to imagine the possibilities of what they can do rather than getting stuck in the mire of frustration or fear that's very pervasive in our world at this present moment.
Kristen, that was beautiful. And I also appreciate the nod to the nonlinear pathway or the first gen pathway or the I'm a professional in the field and I'm attacking school at night or in the wings and all the stress that comes with it. And to do that in concert with why your field exists to, in many ways, to help people navigate life stresses and persist and thrive. And so appreciate the grounding. I imagine that resonates with many of our students, and your call out that many of the faculty and staff that are in the College of Professional Studies. Monica, now turn to you. Tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
Yes, I have some similarities to Kristen. I'm also a first generation student in college in my family. When I was very young, I was a young journalist in college. I studied business administration in college, but I volunteered to be journalist for a local newspaper in different city councils and also working for nonprofit organizations, volunteering. And what I noticed was that in many occasions, when there were good public policies, or even when nonprofit organizations had great ideas, what was lacking financial resources and overall lack of collaboration with local businesses. So I became very interested in understanding how those businesses worked. And that is why I became more and more passionate in business administration. I decided to pursue a PhD in business administration And since the beginning, my interest has been around how business and society work together in order to really reach the greater good for everyone, a win-win game. And in order to do that, I noticed that you really need to learn the language of business. And that is why I arrived to accounting and finance, because I wanted to be able to sit around those round tables with the mind of the person working for a local entity, the person running a nonprofit organization, but at the same time with the mindset of the person running the business, and just combining the synergies among these three perspectives. So it was a long journey, but overall, I came here. The second passion that brought me here is the passion for education. I really love to communicate and work with young people of all ages, to be honest. I started with younger students, but then I see that especially at CPS, I think the main value that I found here, especially here and nowhere else, was the opportunity to collaborate and to work across generations. And that is really empowering and the big plus, the big value that I found here.
I love that call out too. You guys kicking it off brilliantly. The idea of working with multi-generations in a learning environment, one on your staff and faculty and team, but also with students, is a really unique experience when you're in a higher ed setting, and particularly in a bachelor's completion arena. Like, we get to do that every day. One of the things, and you've both mentioned the importance of relationships in some way or another. Kristen, a little bit more of the direct call out about what you learned in the residential setting about the power of relationships in really transforming lives. And that's something that's deeply resonant to me, and something that I've cared a lot about, building systems for relationship building with students and groups of students in various educational settings, whether that's as a teacher or a coach or a high school principal, or now in the work that I do here in the Lowell Institute School, very focused on this concept of one-to-one relationship building in an educational setting. There's a lot of research that suggests like all people need to do to be successful is that they have one person at their job or their workplace or their school that really believes in their capacity to thrive. And then that is like the single biggest predictor. Can somebody say, I have somebody? When I say, what is the role of mentoring and how does it play an important role in education? What does that mean to you? And are you able to talk with me about maybe an early mentor or an early mentoring experience that had a transformative impact on you? Kristen, go for it.
I wish we had 10 hours to spend together conversing, because I can get carried away very quickly about those who have come before me and supported my growth and seen my potential. And just to think about it from a psychology lens, one of the premises we think about in terms of relationships is that healthy relationships in people who mentor us, who see us, who care about us, can be like a mirror. And they can give us that insight into our strengths and our capabilities. If we are a person who maybe is really humble, or it could even be low confidence, or just not having a wide enough imagination for where you can end up reaching. A mirror also shows us if we have something that we need to fix. If we have food in our teeth, we want to be able to see it. And so that's a metaphor for saying a mentor can be a great mirror that shows us areas that we can improve on, and also really shines back that feedback around our strengths and where we can take them. So I believe so much in it. And we know there's so much research. We talk about it as being a protective factor, like just having that one person who believes in us and walks us through our process. So for me, I've had all kinds of mentors, but my most recent and like my enduring ultimate mentor, I met when I was pursuing my doctorate in education. And we were working in a facet of the university focused on school and university partnerships. And I was teaching STEM teachers social emotional skills that they could bring to the classroom, because oftentimes they were working in industry, but they needed some of those relationship strategies. And you're going to think this is wild, but the person that mentored me, she's written, I think by now, 11 books on mentoring. So my mentor has literally written the books on mentoring. And it's funny, she gave me this water bottle. I had to bring it today, Mentoring in Action. You picked the right guest today, because Monica and I we just live by this whole concept. And the best part is her initials are CPR. So I always tell her, you life into me. Her name is Carol Pelletier Radford. She's full of zest. She's like a consummate educator, like such a legacy of service to the world. And she wanted to pass that baton on to me. And what I think we found in our relationship is co-inspiration. And we actually attended a mentoring conference in New Mexico together. It was back a few years ago when I was like early career researcher, teacher. I was like a lot of imposter syndrome or like nervous about my performance. And being at that conference, a lot of the discussions were, I think the original concept of mentorship is like the wise person who imparts knowledge and the other person receives it. Now I think we conceptualize it in a co-inspirational way, a way in which everybody brings different life perspectives and vantage points to the relationship. And I know, Monica, we've talked about this. Our students inspire us. They teach us. And I think that's what true mentorship is, that reciprocity. You build a relationship and you help each other stay curious and make discoveries and support each other when you might be languishing, when you're feeling burnt out or you're feeling like, am I enough or is the work I'm doing enough? That relationship helps us to stay tenacious and to find our resilience when we do have those natural doubts that arise in the course of living life as a human. So I know I sound like a mentoring commercial, but I'm so keen on it. And I think just the last thing I would say is that mentoring students at the college is something that is so sacred to all of us as faculty and staff. We love it. And we genuinely, our students, like Monica said, have had all kinds of trajectories, like whether it's chronological age, like there's such a wonderful tapestry of experience. And I think that mentoring circle can be very wide because of the unique nature of our college and of our work.
Beautiful. And I think this whole thing that we're doing is a commercial for mentoring and talking about the importance and to give people the freedom to think about it in really unique ways. I love that you two are here and that the fact that you had a water bottle with mentoring and action on it, that's another level of commercial, but we'll take it. The idea of co-inspiration is something that I think I'd love for people to hold on to. Students, you are in a world where the people that are engaging with you on a daily basis have chosen that world because they want to inspire you, no doubt, but they also find it very uplifting to work in an educational environment and that you feed them inspiration too. So it is a two-way street and really appreciate that call out. Monica, same question to you. Talk to us a little bit about your maybe a person or way you've approached mentoring that has really uplifted and inspired you.
Yeah, no, actually, I would like to build on this idea of the co-inspiration because it started that way. When I was in college, I realized at the end of college, so my fourth year, that more questions than answers on how to go next. And it was I had to really take a deep pause. And this is where the conversation started and a lot of questions started in discussing with my peers. As I mentioned before, I'm a first generation student at the University of Bologna, where I went, my alma mater. I had the chance to be in the classroom with people from different backgrounds, with different aspirations, but mainly with different experiences. And so through those very meaningful conversations early on, I found specifically one person that I'm still in touch to this. So we really bonded over those conversations that said to me something that really stood out in a way among all different comments from other friends and classmates. He said, it is clear that you need to stay at the university. You have a lot of questions, you can pursue this career, and a PhD would be your next step. And again, until that moment, I really never had considered a PhD seriously, but those words were very powerful. I was able to connect to several professors that trusted me in a way. They understood that I had those questions, that I really want to put time and energy in pursuing, if not definitive answers, certainly different research paths. And they gave me the trust, and those became my first mentors early on. Fast forward about 7-8 years. Then I was looking for other mentors. I think about being in a new country with a different language, a different culture. So I really had to find new references. I left my connections in Bologna virtually, but I had to find a new physical connection to the US. And this is where I found new sources of inspiration and new people that open up a completely new framework in terms of questions and where I could take my work to the next level. I was challenged. Through those challenges, I grew. It was very uncomfortable at the beginning because I was really exploring new areas of work, new methods, new styles overall in terms of communication and teaching as well. I was really pushed into finding not the unknown, but again, something that I was not comfortable with. And that is where I grew the most, to be honest, through those challenges. And everything was, in a way, controlled. I had the tools and I was empowered to face the challenge in a very good way. But it was a big jump overall, especially the first couple of years of my work as an academic in the US. And then I found new mentors, I think at CPS, in different ways across different fields. But the most inspiring for me has been in the classroom when we were able to work, combine and match different classes with our sponsors, the mentors for experiential projects. That are bringing new sets of challenges when you combine your academic research with practitioners and the questions that practitioners bring to the room, right? So from that perspective, I found the new mentors that were able to address and impact the research and the work that I was doing with the students in a way that I never thought before. And that has been, again, a very recent network of mentoring, but very powerful for the next step in my career. We continue to grow and to be challenged.
Yeah, I love it. And love that you have building the XN project work. And so for those of you, maybe that's a new term, we do this work here at Northeastern where we bring many industry partners into the classroom. So in psychology, maybe there's some connections there. And in finance and accounting, we bring a firm in and they give us a challenge and we're working with that to work through an experiential network project is the concept. Mm-hmm. And so in CPS already, most of our faculty and staff are from industry in some way or another. So very strong academics, but also bring often decades of experience into the classroom too. The idea, Monica, that you're doing that networking to build that experience for your students so that you're bringing mentors for students into the classroom, but then also looking at those folks as mentors for your own craft as a practitioner is a really beautiful way in which mentoring can take different angles. And I bet if we had those practitioners in the room here right now, they would talk about how the experience has shaped maybe how they work with early career professionals or think about the academic world and how it connects into the business world. So just fascinating to see the cyclical or synergistic relationship in mentoring.
Monica, I think what you just said resonated so deeply for me. And I think I would also applaud your candor. I think that all of us, as we face transitions in the different forms they come, it can be hard sometimes, especially in those early stages, to say, this is difficult, and yet it was worth endeavoring. And so for me, you always inspire me as a colleague, and I see how tirelessly you work with your students and with all of us. And I think you're the embodiment of, I know this is probably going to make you feel on the spot, but you're very humble and you're honest. And I think it's refreshing because so many of our students, especially our international students, and especially at this moment in time, face a lot of peril. And I think you're such a great, stellar example of what we all want is to meet everyone where they're at and really just provide that level of support, because we do understand. We've been through our own processes and we've seen thousands of students go through theirs. I think it's only in newer times that we take a strengths-based perspective in education and we help a learner capitalize on what they can do. But I think sometimes when we're going through it, we can feel embarrassed or like we're the only ones. But I just think what you said was very poignant and powerful for anyone in our learning community or considering joining, to know that we get it and we care. And it's an environment where we'll meet you where you're at and help you flourish.
Thank you, Kristen. Yeah, I think that you have to combine different skills, right? Ultimately, in these conversations with the mentors, I think that the departing point was, there were two departing points. One, we care. I really liked your reference to care, because I think that when you feel recognized, when you feel that people trust you, that when you feel that people appreciate your uniqueness just as a human being and what you bring to the table, your strengths and your experience, your ideas, I think that is a great starting point in any relationship. I always start with that foundation of, we're here because we care about each other, we're listening, we recognize that we're different, but at the same time, we have aspirations, we have dreams, or we just try to thrive, right? So I think that is a very good, from a personal perspective, has always been a great foundation in all of the conversations that I opened up in different environments. And then this idea that we learn from each other, right? In the context of the classroom or in any conversation, really, I think it is very important to understand that I might start from a point of expertise or more experience in one field, but I always like to open up to that kind of challenge that comes from a question, from a different perspective, a different story, right? And the way I react to it and the way I can put that into the big puzzle that I'm trying to figure out in a way. So the classroom, but in general, I think any mentorship relationship starts from that point of recognition as a human being. And then on top of that, what are we aspiring to? What is the one thing, starting simple, that we are trying to build in our project? It can be in the profession, it can be just as point of personal development, personal growth. I think that even when I think about my relationships with the students, someone reaching out and talking about how to grow as a public speaker, right? Many of the students that we meet in our classroom never had the opportunity maybe to present online or in person in front of an audience. And we start all of these conversations that are beautiful about how you grow as a public speaker, how do you develop your skills, and you learn from different people. So it is just amazing how, again, this process never stops, but starts from that perspective of big respect, care, uniqueness, and aspirations. And you open up, you listen, and you put your energy into what will become another step into your personal growth.
I love how you put that.
Yeah, thanks both of you and the way in which you point to each other in conversation also demonstrates how mentoring is happening between the two of you, even right now, both directions, and really appreciate that. And kindness and friendship too, but you're in this engagement of co-inspiration, which is beautiful to watch live. Let's flip the conversation for a second, though, to your work as academics in relation to why you are leading the programs you're leading. And I want to give you each a couple of minutes to just speak about what it looks like to be in each of your academic programs and why you're so inspired on a daily basis to lead your academic programs.
I'm so proud of our psychology program here at CPS. Again, we serve just such an incredible range of learners. So for some students, it's their first kind of dabbling in the realm of understanding human behavior and what helps us flourish as humans. And then some folks have years and years of experience or are career changers. It's nice to have relationships that make us feel good, but they can really become relationships that are a wellspring of support and helping our students network, build a really dynamic network. So it's not just the singular idea of mentoring, like, yes, that one person can mean a lot, but it's also being immersed with people that have had touch across like so many corners of industry. I think many of our students, like we've been talking about, Monica and Chris, is that our students are really driven to bring change in the world and to have a better understanding of the kinds of skills, mindsets, dispositions that are needed to do that. They want to understand how the brain works. They want to understand about emotions and about human development and organizational applications, academic applications, interpersonal applications. So it's really skill heavy. And I love that. I love that we can like really take what we're learning and apply it to people's respective lives, whether that's the work or interpersonal arenas. And Monica, I think our conversation has been very interdisciplinary today. And I think one of the beauties of what we do is like we share students. We work as teams across disciplines so that our students too are getting a lot of different nurturing from different angles. And I think that really makes for richness. So I know our audience is eager to hear more from you and what you're up to and what you're proud of about your program and your students and colleagues.
And I will start exactly from that angle of interdiscipline and how we combine skills and competencies coming from different spaces. So the program that I lead is finance and accounting management. So as you can imagine, just starting from the title, finance and accounting management, there are three different areas, right, of expertise that we address since the beginning. So the students that come to our program usually are interested in accounting, in management, and in finance. And they have the chance, even at the beginning, the curriculum is quite similar. So the deep dive is into introduction to business. We might have courses in common with the program in communication, some IT or information technology. So we collaborate also. If you think about our class, the average class is combined also with students coming from different programs, which is wonderful because either online or in person, you have the chance to compare different working experiences, right? And sometimes, most of the time, these students are maybe in different regions, someone from Boston or North and South, East and West. So you really have the chance domestically and internationally for people in person to meet people with a very different background and interested in different disciplines. So you spend the first couple of semesters in combination with all of these different subjects. And then later on, starting in the second year or the fourth semester, you start to specialize a little bit more in accounting or finance based on your main interest in a way. So the two main pathways, if you think about that, are one in accounting and one in finance, but you don't need to make that choice as a student at the very beginning of your program. Time to have very meaningful conversations with the academic advisor, with your peers, with the part-time faculty that are also practitioners. So they can bring a lot of expertise from their industry and their professions in accounting or finance. And they come to education, as you can imagine, because they're passionate about sharing their experience with their students, right? They already have a daily job, sometimes even 2 different appointments, but they want to give back. They come to class online or at night after 5 p.m. because they want to share what they learned and want to inspire the next generation, right? So I found that really very powerful. Very recently, I had wonderful conversations with part-time faculty that are alumni of the program or students a few years ago. And in the middle of their very busy career, they decided to give back. And now they're contacting me, they're reaching out because they want to come back and they want to teach classes in finance and accounting and work with the students, recognizing the role that CPS had in starting their career. So I found that extremely beautiful.
Monica and Kristen, this has been a lot of fun to listen to the way you really think about your programs, how you think about mentoring in the way your programs roll forward, how mentoring has played an important part in your life, and how you think of mentoring have an evolving definition, but more than that, kind of many places for which you can engage in mentoring. Let's get a little bit more concrete as you're talking, as if you're talking directly to the students in your program, because if they're watching and they're going to hear this feedback and they're going to be like, yes, I'm going to do that. If you had some piece of advice about how mentoring can play into the lives of our students, Monica, as you mentioned, some of them are taking classes 5 or 6 o'clock at night after a long day of work. Think about your students. What advice do you give them related to the topic of mentoring?
Yeah. I can start just saying, just show up, right, as often as you can. I think that this is something that I often mention when I'm in the classroom with the students or online at an event. I think it is very important to understand when you're part of CPS that you're also part of Northeastern, the broader university. There are so many resources that you can use and so many events, both in person and online, that you can attend. And you never know, you cannot predict that meeting, that person that can really impact your life. It happened to me in many circumstances. I was tired. I didn't want to go to an event, to a dinner, to a talk, to a university event. But every time that I showed up, something special happened. It was, again, the contact that I had with a person, or it was just what I was experiencing visually, emotionally, that changed the day and again impacted what I did the following day or what I was thinking for an article that I was writing, a class that I was preparing, a connection to a completely different topic. It could be a talk from an engineer. So just don't look at necessarily meetings oriented to accounting or to management or finance. You can learn from any other disciplines. If you have even the small interest and you're wondering, you have a question, you feel connected to an event that you see on our website or anywhere really in your community, I think my best advice is to show up and make an effort to ask a question or to make a connection that day. And I'm very positive that will have an impact in what you do next.
Yeah, stay engaged, show up, very direct, right? Don't sit at the couch and stay without that active work in the world. Kristen, what say you?
I would echo those sentiments wildly, just showing up. And I think sometimes if that feels still impossible or even daunting, think about any friction that might occur. So I think the 2 biggest barriers can be time. And then also, we know a lot of people got a little rusty, like getting out of the house, or you might have like online fatigue because you already have to be online a lot of hours. So I think just trying to be creative. If like you're a little nervous to go, can you find another student to turn up with you? Or can you ask someone in your life to just coach you through and be accountable to if you like back out? I think a lot of people do have either social anxieties or just feel a little out of the loop. I think anything you can do to remove those barriers and just realize, okay, don't go into it thinking it's going to be the best thing that ever happened to your life. But also, you could be like, if I hadn't turned up to that event, I never would have met that person. And then, so it's a cascade of things. One thing can set a different course for our lives. I think we definitely have to put ourselves in the way of those positive experiences and potential opportunities, but just try to be good coaches to ourselves. And then with time, you might not have time to turn up to one of our campuses, or you might not have time to participate in the whole online event, but just try to participate as much as you humanly can to see what you can discover and what opportunities you can capitalize on within our learning community.
Yeah, and I think within the learning community too, is it to double down on both of your points. Showing up externally out of your normal engagement is important too, but so is showing up within your classroom setting with the folks in the room. And there's mentors in the room, or there's mentors in your day-to-day experience, that unless you take that step to really put yourself to say, hey, here's who I am. Does it match up with anything that you're interested in? Or is there a topic that we can share? Or, hey, is there something I can offer you as a participant in this class too? You don't use those words, but like, you only get there by putting yourself in the positions of being, of showing up, of staying engaged, of being in the room, of really putting yourself out there. And so I would just continue to emphasize that. Monica and Kristen, this has been lovely. Really appreciate spending the time with you. Thanks for showing up here today with me in the conversation. I'm feeling a bit mentored by each of you and looking forward to the future conversations where we can dive in this a little bit more directly. Fun to see your own dynamics between the two of you. I know you've worked together for a long time, and so see that come through here as well. And also really appreciate the way in which you show up and engage with our students and our broader community at Northeastern. So thank you for everybody watching at home or at work or on the subway or wherever you might be. Thanks for joining us here for Mentorship Matters, and we'll see you next time.